Excited today to talk to a former CADA member who saw a need and created a company called Software for Schools. This is Ben Starr, former Area F Council member. Ben, always love it when we get activities directors who create a cool product that is like from the ground floor up. You were in the trenches and knew exactly what was needed. So tell us a little bit about Software for Schools, how you got started, what you were doing with CADA before you jumped in.
Yeah, awesome. Good to see you again. As far as software for schools, I would have never ever created a company and gone down this path if I hadn't started student activities and really joined CADA at my first year. And it basically, again, like you said, ground up. I had to do dances and school tickets, or tickets to school dances, and we had paper tickets, and our process was to write the kid's name down, and they'd bring the ticket at the end of the week, and then half the kids would cry because they'd lost their ticket, or the principal would come to me and say, yeah, the principal would come and say, you know what, hey, these three kids can't go, they just got suspended. And I'm like, I don't know who they are, and so I was like, why can't we just scan their ID cards? And I looked all over the place, and there was no software out there that would allow me to scan a kid's ID card to sell them a ticket and to track them when they come into the dance. And a fellow teacher friend of mine was a old school programmer, and we got together, and I'm like, hey, can you help me build this tool? And we built this on like an Access database, and it was just a really kind of quirky little thing. And it got around, right? Everybody, and I'm in Anaheim, and everybody in the district was like, what are you guys doing? That's really cool. And I'd share the idea, and they're like, you should sell this thing. And I'm like, really? And so we ended up, selling it to some other schools. And we went to CADA for the first year as a vendor. And it was like, oh my gosh, everybody got so excited about what we're doing. And that really started the core of our company and our products was around ticketing and attendance for schools.
Fantastic. Yeah, and I actually, when I was an activities director, subscribed to the voting software, and that was like such a game changer in my world. Getting rid of scantrons and standing there for hours putting scantron ballots through just to, oh gosh, it was like a godsend. So
Well, and that's as we started to grow, right, we have a lot of products and a suite of tools that all work together. The voting software, right, was one of those ones that actually became our biggest application. I mean, CADA still uses it for when they have board member elections as well. And so really it was like, how do we just do elections in a way that's safe, secure, that we can put videos on there and so forth. And so, yeah, a lot of the schools use just the voting. Some of the schools use multiple products, the ticketing, the voting. We also created a student store point of sale system so that parents can go online and buy things, and kids can pick them up in the store, as well as credit. And there's an intervention application that we've got, and then one for tracking school announcements, which was my particular favorite, because what happened was when we had to submit school announcements, it was constantly, I had to send an email to my principal secretary, and then she'd lose them and forget what days to read them. And so I created, and this is how I learned how to be a programmer for the first time. And I created a little tool that everybody on our campus could put an announcement in and a start and an end date. And then the principal secretary would say, let's go see all the ones from today. And it would all be there and make it really easy to make sure we communicated with everybody the right way.
yeah, and streamlining systems to make things easier is the way to go for sure. COVID-19 shutting everything down, just throwing everything into a total state of disarray this year. Is Software for Schools any way you're adapting to that or helping schools as they return? I know your workshop topic on Monday is kind of addressing what post-COVID is going to look like for schools. So you want to touch on that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So as far as what we're doing, we really made a lot of changes within the program to make it easier to track student engagement, whether they're in person or whether they're remote. So, we use barcode scanners and ID cards and things like that where you can scan kids in person, but when they're not, right, when we go on a Zoom and I love that I went to one of the CADA sessions that you guys had where, you talked about engagement and what kind of things you can do remotely, like virtual dance parties and all these kind of ideas. And so you can have an ASB student or one of your student government just go in there and just quickly start typing the name of a kid, hit enter, start typing the name of a kid, hit enter. And then you can track the engagement even when they're online as well. So a really cool way to do that. And then also, as we think about the entire system working together, we've got a reward system where you can reward kids certain number of points for being participating in, an online event and in-person event. But then there's also a store where they can actually redeem those points. So the kid can log in and they can say, well, I've got 25 points or 50 points. I'm going to go buy a Spirit shirt or get a hat or whatever that might be. And then they can get those. And a lot of schools are doing like a weekend pickup or Friday pickup where they drive by and they'd say, okay, great, here's your stuff, and deliver it to them.
Oh, fantastic. The rewards programs are great.
Yeah.
We're in the mixtape theme. We've been hearing some fun stories about 80s, 90s music and fun memories. You got something you want to share about 80s, 90s music?
I would say the first thing that came to my mind, and this is going to draw back some memories for some of you guys, that yellow tape cassette that was waterproof, that tape recorder, that tape player that was waterproof. It was like this big. And I remember that as a kid, and we used to go up to the mountains, up to Big Bear, and go skiing. And I remember making my own mixtape for the day that I was going to go skiing with Def Leppard and Guns N' Roses and all this pump up music. So I have it, and I have this big old cassette. And now to think about it, on your watch or your phone, you've got all of your music and AirPods that are disconnected, and just such a different world. But that visual yellow, tape thing was just what brought my memories back.
If you still have that somewhere, pull that out and show that at your workshop on Monday. And you can check out Ben doing a workshop about what events are going to look like post-COVID. That's going to be during the Monday session, so you can catch the recording if you haven't seen this video to remind you. And then be sure to stop by the virtual exhibit hall and click on Software for Schools. Say hi to Ben Starr. Ben, thank you so much for joining us today.
Awesome. Thanks, Jeff.